5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Guys, sorry about that. We had a bit of a technical difficulty there, but our esteemed producer got us back up and running. So where we left off, I had just asked Mr. Jones, what he thinks makes Flash Gordon so endearing 40 years later. So where we left off, I had just asked.
Good. That's phone. Well, the telephone ringing all the time, I would say is the answer, but that's not the right answer. But the telephone is ringing because that's phone. The longevity with Flash Gordon. It's a great question, Billy. But again, I refer to Flash Gordon as the triple blessing. What does that mean? Getting hired in the business is the first blessing. Second blessing is if your project does well. And the third blessing is what we're talking about right now. 40 years later, longevity. Why is there longevity? Why is there longevity attached to a certain project? There's really no rhyme or reason 40 years later, except in my opinion, Flash Gordon is for the common man and the common woman. It reaches all age demographics. I mean, it's, especially with TED now, it added the younger age demographic to my fan base. But, 40 years ago, it's just, Flash Gordon is just a guy. He's just a man. There's no superpowers. And people relate to that. They say, oh, well, if he can do that, and he has, he's just the quarterback for the New York Jets. He primarily, Flash Gordon relies on his wit. I said wit. Hopefully it's plural. Wits. Okay.
Right.
He relies on his wits and his athleticism, but nothing else. And I think for the common man, the common woman, they say, well, wait a minute. If he can do that, I can do that. And I think that just carries over multicultural, multi-generations. It's incredible. I love it. And the scary thing is, Billy, is the similarities between Flash Gordon and Sam Jones are scary, almost identical. Really.
Well, no, so in the original pulp comics, Flash Gordon's a polo player. Obviously, if you're a fan of the movie, he's the quarterback of the Jets. He's a football player. But before you were an actor, you were a football player.
Well, yeah, I played high school ball, and then I joined the Marine Corps, and I joined to be a lifer, and then all of a sudden I started playing Marine Corps football. And I said to myself, that's where the arrogance took over. I said, oh, I'm good. Matter of fact, I'm so good, maybe I should just do one hitch in the Marines and go to Seattle, that's where my grandparents were, and try out for the Seahawks. So I did that. So in 1970, I went in the Corps in 72. So in 76, I went to Seattle. I tried out for the Seahawks. And guess what they said, Billy?
What did they tell you?
They said, well, thanks for coming, but we don't need you. Okay. I'm laughing about it. Now I probably cried back then because I'm 20. Let me see, I turned 18 in boot camp. So, I was 21, 22. I was kind of devastated. But, if we just maintain, if we don't get so down on ourselves and just maintain a little bit of hope, the good Lord will open maybe a window or a door. And if we're clear-headed, we can see that and discern that. And it's like a day later, I read an article on Clint Eastwood. And after I was done with the article, I said, well, I don't know if I could accomplish what he has accomplished. I think in 76, he'd already been in the business for 22 years. I said, but maybe in 20 or 22 years, I could accomplish a little bit of what he did. That was my inspiration. That was that little light at the end of the tunnel. And then I went to Hollywood a couple months later.
And then, so how long after you get to Hollywood do you get linked up with like Dino De Laurentiis and they're like, hey, you're going to be this pulp action hero that everybody's going to love for the next 40 years?
So that was mid 77, 77. I think more like, I keep telling people early to mid. I think it was late 77, to be honest. And then we just can't. A lot of people think I'm going to Hollywood, I'm going to be a star, or I'm going to be a famous director, I'm going to be a famous a musician, whatever. Well, that's good. It's good to have that. I love what Denzel Washington says about this. He said, dream and keep dreaming big, but a dream without a plan means nothing. It's true. You got to have a plan. Denzel, you got to listen to some of Denzel's college commencement speeches. It's just off the charts, man. But it's true. We just can't, nothing's going to fall from the sky. I mean,
Right.
well, birds and what birds do does fall from the sky, doesn't it? But we got to work at it, you know. Now, the other thing going for me, I had that Marine Corps mentality. So it was, you know, in other words, I had not been in Hollywood yet. So Hollywood
Right.
had not tainted me yet. So I just had this confidence about myself, you know, really, you know, I just go there and I didn't take anything personal. I didn't think of any, I went there and I thought, okay, if they want Sam Jones, they're going to hire Sam Jones. If they want somebody else, they're going to get them. But I believed, this is the one thing we have to do, no matter what we are attempting to do. We have to believe we belong there. We have to believe that the good Lord has sent us there. And then, you know, we take it from there. But yeah, it's wonderful.
So and I have to ask about this. A lot of, and I don't think a lot of people know this, but a lot of the movie was ad lib. Like, for example, the ending where you jump at the camera and you say, yeah, that was you. You came up with that because nobody else knew how to end that scene.
That's cool.
Is that correct?
Yeah, I did it in TED too, with the preachers, the priest gown on, right?
Yeah. So what, you know, I'm assuming, because obviously, you know, these are collaborative projects. You know, the director and everybody, they're trying to figure out how to end that scene. Did you just jump and do that? And they're like, yeah, that's what we're gonna do.
I mean, I do. You see, I do love to improvise, but I get in trouble sometimes. You know, a lot of the writers want it. You know, I'm not saying iambic pentameter, every beat, hit every beat, legalistic, but being, because I want to be freed up. Any of us want to be.
Sure.
What we're doing right now, we want to be freed up, but we have to comply with, you know, the technology and organization, all that. But yeah, man, I mean, it's just, improvisation. I get in trouble. But yeah, we improvised a lot on Flash Gordon, but they were quick scenes. Sometimes my direction was, hey, Sam, you know, make sure you get your dialogue out before the explosion goes off. You know, there's okay. Wait, where's the explosion now? Okay. But seriously, sometimes you get that. And I learned, you know, when we watched the 35th anniversary part of that documentary in BAFTA that they filmed, when we had the reunion with Brian Blessed and Michael Hodges, the director, and Peter Wyngarden. And, you know, I was kind of holding a little bit in all these years thinking, did I do something wrong about certain things? Because, you know, Flash was a huge success in every country in America. I mean, except America, but every other country, until it came to video, VHS.
Right.
So when I finally got to meet Michael the first time in, you know, 35 years, I said to Michael, I said, was there something going on with me? Were you having an issue with me? Or he said, I gotta be careful what I say. He said, no, Sam. He said, I showed up every day for work and Dino showed up every day and we didn't know what the heck we were doing. You know, he had his vision, I had mine. You came on board and you listened to me. But we just improvised it. I said, okay. You know? So there was also a bit of a relief at the same time of hearing the facts right from the mouth of the director, you know?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I have to ask this because, like, you know, I let success go to my head a little bit. And I know not everybody's like me, but how many times since 1980 when the movie was released, how many times have you actually sat down and watched Flash Gordon?
Well, it's a great question. I only watched it that one time at the movie theater when they, you know, I couldn't go to the screening in London because I was working. And then I think they had one in LA too. And I think I was out of the country then or whatever. I didn't make the official screenings. So I went to, I think I went to the movie theater and I saw it myself. And I said, oh, okay, that's interesting. I'm kind of happy with it, but I don't think I really need to be watching myself anymore because, you know, here's the deal, Billy. Film doesn't lie. It tells the truth. Now, now I could watch it to maybe make some different choices, but
Sure.
nothing's going to change. You know, I could sit there and say, I should have made a better choice, whatever. But we got to be real careful about things like that. You know, certain actors have their way of doing things. But to answer your question specifically, I saw it the one time, Christmas 1980. And I'm not making this up. And then again, probably 7 years ago, I started doing only 7 years ago. Okay. So we're
Yeah.
talking, what's the math on that? 33 years later. Um,
Yeah.
Started doing screenings with some of the fans once a year, maybe twice a year for the last 7 years. So I've probably seen it 12 to 14 times in addition. And I have fun doing that. But really, that's it. Matter of fact, when people heard this story, not only Flash Gordon, but the 65 films I've done, where they found out I've only seen half of my work, they started sending me old VHSs or DVDs, whatever, of some of the movies that I haven't even seen yet. So it's kind of cool.
So Flash Gordon happens 1980. You know, obviously after Flash Gordon, you're doing other work. You don't get to go to the premiere. You go check it out by yourself. This is something I've always been curious about your job specifically as an actor. You know, for us as fans, and I think part of the longevity of the film is that we get lost in it. That is, you know, that's 2 hours that we get lost in this adventure of Flash Gordon fighting Ming the Merciless, and it's just an escape, and it's wonderful. But for you, because it's you, does that make that impossible? Like, you can't get lost in the picture. Like, you're like, yeah, I was there. That's my experience. I don't need to watch it.
You mean I had a little bleep probably in my hearing. You mean, is it hard for me to be objective when I'm watching myself, or
Yeah, like kind of get lost in the movie, like the way that like I get lost in the movie, or
Oh
my
yeah,
kids do.
no, great question, Billy. I get lost now. It took a lot of years. I get completely lost because, you know, you read the stories, you read the reviews, and they said, oh, it's kind of campy, it's kind of corny. But to be honest, when I first saw it, I said to myself, okay, now that's me, but I need to be objective here. So I laid back and I said, okay, is that corny? Am I supposed to laugh there, or am I not supposed to laugh? It's campy. Is it supposed to be campy? Ooh, the special effects are kind of funky. They're not really, even though it's blue screen, it's not top quality, but for 1979 it was. So I said to myself, you know, it's like I screamed at myself and said, stop it, stop it. Just lie back and stop brainstorming and just lay back and enjoy the adventure. And that's what I tell people. To me personally, Flash Gordon, in a few words to sum it up, it really is a visual masterpiece. It really is.
Oh, it looks beautiful, and it still holds up.
Yeah, but all the other, I mean, come on, who else spends a fortune? I mean, they had Fellini, they had the production designer, Danilo Donati, who did all the Fellini movies. Who
Yeah.
else is going to be sewing on one costume nowadays? Who else is going to be sewing 30,000 sequin beads onto one costume? They don't do that anymore. So that
No.
means you get a certain light with all the reds and the silvers and the blacks and the greens. And I mean, it's just, it's hard to duplicate.
No, and that's part of I think part of the magic of it as well. That, like you said, the costumes, even like you know, I don't correct me if I'm wrong here, the crazy visual backgrounds like of like the sky and outer space and stuff, that was done by I guess they had water tanks. They used different dyes, and that's how they got that effect. And it's water with dye in it, but it doesn't obviously feel that way.
It's cool to hear Richard O'Brien. A lot of people don't know Richard O'Brien, who wrote Rocky Horror Picture Show. Well, he played the character Fico in Flash Gordon. No shaved head. He was basically Prince Baron, Timothy Dalton's right-hand man. He played the flute, but he was there, Billy, when that took place, that little water deal that you were talking about.
Yeah.
He was there. He may have had something to do with it too. But if you hear his story in Life After Flash, the documentary, he talks about that. It gives us some insight on that as well. Yes.
So this is something I'm always curious about. You know, we kind of talked about the objectivity of the art, and you know, kind of getting lost in it the way the fans do. This is something I've always wondered about as well. when you're acting, do you have scenes that you prefer doing versus like other scenes? Like, is kissing the heroine way cooler than fighting Timothy Dalton on a giant, disc with spikes coming out of the ground?
Well, let me see. I had to break it down like this. Do I want to do this fight scene with Timothy Dalton? Yeah, it's fun. Rehearse for 3 weeks, get bruised, get cut, go to the hospital one time. Or do I want to do a seduction scene with Ornella Muti sitting on my lap? Gee, I can always get to the fight scene
Right.
because that's going to happen. That's cool. But let's get the seduction scene out of the way, okay?
Right. Fair. So, well, let me ask you this. So, I mentioned the disc where you fight Timothy Dalton because that is my favorite scene. That scene is crazy. Like, you guys are beating the crap out of each other with whips. Prince Voltan's like moving the disc around. You guys are falling. It's amazing. When you on your subsequent rewatches, what is your favorite scene in Flash Gordon?
On my subsequent what?
Rewatches, like when you watched Flash Gordon again.
Subsequent rewatches. Oh, great question. It's shocking to me the new things I pick up each time I watch the movie. It's crazy. How did I not get that before? I think the 5th time, it took me 5 times. Remember, we're in space. We're in Hawk City. And I think Ming's coming down the right, they're getting ready to blast us. And I turned to, was it Prince? Was it Voltan? I turned.
Voltan was the Hawkman Prince. Yep.
Yeah, I said, remember, it's zero gravity. I said, hey, let's rip these curtains down and make some parachutes out of them.
Yeah.
We're in space. It's zero gravity. How did you get that? What is that? Okay.
I didn't even think about that.
Oh, there's so many pieces of gold that you'll get like that. So many pieces of gold. It's pretty wild. Yeah.
So you're relatively new to Hollywood when you get the role, but that cast is kind of insane. Like you mentioned, and I apologize to the actor, but you had characters from Rocky Horror in that movie, Picture Show.
Richard O'Brien, he wrote the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and
which is
Fico
another beloved classic.
He had a shaved head in the movie. He's the guy. Oh, and there's a cool. Remember, we're in the cage, and I'm captured by Prince Baron, and then they submerged us. Well, and he sent Fico in there as right-hand man as a spy. And why we were and the cage, even though it looked like it was wood, it really wasn't wood cage. It was a what do you call it? A fiber material type.
Sure, yeah.
And so when he came up real quick in one scene with his shaved head, he hit that sharp piece and he cut the top of his head. But Richard O'Brien. He was wonderful, man. He was. He was great. He really was.
And then you had 27 James Bond alumnus on set, like obviously including Timothy Dalton.
What do you mean I had 20? What do you mean I had
20? There was 27 actors or producers and ancillary roles that had previously worked on James Bond movies. Did you know that?
I did not know this. See, I told you.
Yeah.
You mean not just actors, but maybe they were.
Not just actors, but like crew and things like that.
Crew. I've never heard that. I've never
27.
Yep. Would there have been probably the DP, director of photography, I would assume.
Stuff like that. Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it makes sense because this was 79 and they started James Bond in the early 60s?
Yep, absolutely.
Well, first time I've heard that, Billy. And that's amazing.
And then so maybe I can tell you some other trivia that you may not know. So then you had a bunch of people that would eventually be in Star Wars or were already a part of Star Wars. For example, I forget what they're called, but the guys that are monitoring you with the big crazy goggles. One of those guys actually plays Lobot in Empire Strikes Back.
I knew that because they were so close together. I think
they were very And then
because we were filming in London, and a lot of the other movies there were filming either at Shepperton, Pinewood, L Street. Yeah.
And then obviously, Ming was Max, and I got to ask, what was it like working with him? Because he puts on such a crazy performance opposite of you in that movie. And,
Yeah.
you know, what was he like between, I just got to know, like, what was that relationship like on set between you guys? Because he's the bad guy, you're the hero.
He was wonderful. He's very professional. He's the guy that really takes his craft serious, but he's really warm and passionate with you. Yeah, he mentored me. You know, I'll never forget. He actually taught me two things. And some days we were eating lunch. I think it was at the was it Shepperton? Yes, Shepperton. And he saw me. He came up to me one day after lunch. He said, "I've been watching you at lunch." He said, "Let me encourage you. Stop buying everybody's lunch. Save your money. Save your money." Okay. Well, that
Sure.
first bit of advice took me 25 years to heed those instructions. Okay. And then
Sure.
the other advice was, so the next day I decided to give him some advice, but not, you know, not what you think, not in a bad way, or I'll show him, because that's not, I mean, I just thought, you know, I want to help him out too, since he was so nice to me. You know, back then it took, or any big production, it's time consuming to change cameras and lighting. I'm sorry, change lighting. So we just
Right.
did his close up. Now it was time for my close up. And back then it would take 2 hours, 3 hours just to change the lighting around. And so the time elapsed and it was time to do my close up, and he was coming back to do the off camera lines to me, you know.
Right.
And as you know, off camera lines are very important. It should bring the best of the actor out who's on camera. So I said to Max, I said, "Mac," and he came out with this 60-pound costume on. He's off camera. So I said, Max, thank you, but you don't have to wear that, man. You know, take that thing off and go relax. And my gosh, it's so heavy." And he said, "Young man," he said, "Young man, I will give you my off-camera lines the best I see fit in bringing the very best of you out. And I expect the very same thing from you." Okay, it was wonderful. It was great. It was a
That was
teaching
excellent.
moment. It was a teaching moment, but it was also prophetic. And I complied and heeded those instructions immediately. Whatever way he wanted to do it, it's fine. But what he was also saying, which he didn't say, but I got it. There was another dynamic to what he was saying. He was also saying most stars don't come back to give their off-camera lines. Once their close-up has been filmed, they're not going to bother coming back, especially if you're not one of the star actors, right? Or
Right.
they do come back, and it would have been best if they had not come back. You know, it's better if I just stare at the wall. I get a better reaction. You know what I mean?
Right.
Texting
Right.
on their phone while they're giving me my off-camera lines. I mean, come on. So that was really prophetic what he had to say, and he was right. I want to lighten that screen up a little bit. There, you went dark a little bit, buddy. There you go.
So, um, so Flash Gordon happens. Obviously, you go on and you do Highwayman. You've done a ton of action movies. You're an action hero, like the rest of your peers. And when I say peers, I mean like Schwarzenegger. Like you're the guy. You're the guy that like my dad wanted to be, right? Um, and then Ted comes along.
Yeah.
How did that happen? Did they, does McFarlane call you and just go like, "Hey, I'm a huge fan. Can you come be a raging maniac on set?" Or like, how does that come together?
Yeah, I got that call, and I tell people we have to be very careful. We've heard certain actors or athletes say, "I'm not a role model. I'm not a role model." Well, it doesn't matter what you think you are or you're not. We don't label ourselves who we think we are. It's the fans who label us. So we
Right.
need to be very careful of our behavior as public figures, and we need to be very careful what we say. So, addressing your question, yeah, Seth called me. He said, "Sam, when I was 8 years old, you and your movie impacted me so positive that after I walked out of the movie theater, I knew I wanted to be a creative type guy. So thank God I impacted him positive. But I tell you, funny little deal. So I said to him, well, yeah. So that's cool, Seth, that I impacted you in a positive way and you wanted to be a creative guy, but also, you're kind of perverted too. So I hope I had nothing to do with that. But no, I mean, Billy, we have to be real careful. I'm just telling you. I mean, just think if I had, well, with Seth, it may have been a different story. If I had impacted him in a negative way, for Seth, it probably would have worked for him too. The way he is. But for most people, this is not my opinion, because what I'm hearing at my personal appearances, especially at my table, when the fans come up to me, and by the way, for all the fans that are listening out there, when you come to my table, or you get to come to any other actors or musicians or celebrities table, it's your opportunity now to tell me your story. And Billy, I'm getting it, and it's life changing. And I don't say those words just to tickle somebody's ears. It's literally life changing. And I get these life changing stories. Do I have time to give you a quick one?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hear this.
Okay, so it's as simple as this: is that a guy will come up to my table and he's being a bit standoffish. He's got his wife and his 3 beautiful kids, and he asks me a few questions, and then he waits and he's waiting. His wife and his kids take a little walk, and I could tell he wanted to talk to me one-on-one. And it gets kind of emotional on my side. That's why I used to always, it's happened numerous times now. That's why I would have my sunglasses on the table, because I get all teary-eyed like some big baby. But anyway,
sure.
He would say, and when his wife, and you could tell he's about ready to share something with me that he's never shared before, not even with his wife. He says, Sam, he goes, I'm just going to cut to the chase. He said, when I was 12 years old, I came from an abusive home. And I heard this voice in my head tell me, go in the bedroom and take your life, commit suicide. And right when I went to do that, this other voice, that's what I always tell 2 people, 2 voices. First voice is usually the voice of fear. The second voice is the voice of God or the voice of reason. He said, all of a sudden, when I went to take my life, this other voice was screaming in my head. It said, wait a minute, before you do that, put that VHS of that, that superhero guy, put that VHS in that machine and watch it. He said, Sam, when I watched you in Flash Gordon, you not only gave me hope to carry on, you gave me value to live and to be somebody. I was like, excuse me. And the tears just started to go. And let me tell you something. This is not just some feel good little story. This man's life was spared and saved because he saw something in me or the character I played. Here's Billy. Here's the continuing dynamic. Hold it. The wife and the 3 kids are non-existent. Wait, the kids are non-existent? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's not heard that voice of God or the voice of reason. There you go. So it's multiplication. It carries on and on. So we need to be very careful. Just think if, not to take anything away from, but just think of now, the voice could have said, the second voice could have said, yeah, put that tape of that superhero guy in. And then the other voice, the first voice could have said, yeah, you mean that guy that made you feel like crap? You mean that guy that's a loser that didn't bring any value to your life? And guess what? He said, yeah, I'm not going to put the tape in. I mean, think about it. I know we're getting heavy
absolutely.
Now, but come on.
It is. Yeah, no.
So fans, people out there all over the world, this is your time to tell, it doesn't have to be that heavy, but I don't care heavy or what. It's the truth. It's the truth. So it's your time. It's your turn. It's your time, your opportunity. If you come by my table, tell me if there's a long line behind you, I'll ask you a question. If you say to me, hey, Sam, I got a story to tell you. So if I see a long line, I'll say to you, is it a short story or a long story? So just make it a short story. If there's no long line, then make it a long story. Anyway, but it's your opportunity to do that.
So and here's the thing. Obviously, I'm a fan. I don't want to keep you all night because that is exactly what will happen here. But here's the thing. I'm going to have an opportunity to meet you in person, and everybody that shops at Coliseum of Comics is going to have an opportunity to meet you in person, because if I understand correctly, you're coming to see us Friday night. Is that correct?
I'm going to be there. That would be this Friday night.
Friday.
Yeah, Coliseum. What's the date on that? You guys are good with that. Today's the 10th. If this is Wednesday, so it'll be the night of the 12th, right?
That is correct.
March 12th, Coliseum of Comics. Now, I've not been there yet, but the word itself, when you say Coliseum, I'm thinking of, oh my gosh, are we in Rome? Okay. So
yeah, absolutely.
I'm looking, I think it's 4:00 is when we start, right?
We start at 4. I think we were going to run through 7. So if you want to have this opportunity to talk to Sam, maybe kind of like I did, tell him your story, maybe have some really cool Flash Gordon merchandise signed. This is going to be your opportunity. 4 to 7 at Coliseum of Comics, Kissimmee. Obviously, that's our biggest store. We need to use our big store. It's for a big star. Sam, before I let you go, there's one more thing. Can we please end the Coliseum Forum with a yeah, like the end of Flash Gordon?
Okay, but I can't jump out of frame.
No, that's fine. We'll just do that. We'll do 3, 2, 1.
Wait,
are
you and I going to do the audio together too?
We'll do it together.
Yeah. Okay. So it's 3, 2, 1. Yeah. Right.
Yep.
Let's do a quick rehearsal, but subtle. So right. you call it. Just this rehearsal.
All right. Sorry. This is rehearsal. All right. So we got 3, 2, 1. Yeah.
Okay. Now we'll do it for real, and let's do it like we mean it now, Billy.
Okay. We're gonna do it like Flash right now.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Go ahead.
Right, ready? Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Yeah.
Baby.
Guys, this has been another episode of Coliseum Forum. Again, Sam will be joining us in store this Friday from 4 to 7. If you want to come by and meet Mr. Flash Gordon himself, this is your opportunity. Sam, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.